Hey guys, it's Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. I'm gonna move this real fast. I was gonna, and then I forgot to. I gotta say, I've learned my lesson. No more McDonald's right before stream. Uh, welcome in, everybody. I got a text message real fast. It is from my partner. Hang on. Okay. Unimportant. Well, not terribly unimportant. It is important, but like not important until after the stream. So, all right. So, it's a little bit on the dark side today, and that is because it is raining in the area. We aren't storming like we were on Wednesday, but we are raining, so it's going to be a little bit on the dark side today. My cameras are already at their maximum extreme on the ISO, so I really can't brighten everything up very much more than it already is, so I apologize for that. Maybe I should step back a little bit. The top of my head is in frame. Maybe if I angle the camera up just a little bit, it'll be a better shot. Sorry, I just noticed that. It's one of those things that like I'm not there to like see it until like much later. So if I take care of it now, then hopefully, editing later will be better. All right. We are still in our spaghetti setup, unfortunately, because it's been rainy and we haven't had time. So hopefully it stops raining the rest of the weekend and we are able to finish out rearranging the shop so that I can get some actual lights in here. I was promised shop lights once we get ever like a place for them. So hopefully that will brighten things up quite a bit more. Mahalo, happy Friday. Hello. Welcome in, everybody. So glad to see you. I'm thinking it looks like we're pretty stable right now. And like I said, while it is raining, it's not really storming, it's not windy or lightning or thunder. So hopefully we get a regular old normal boring, no dropped stream. Because I feel like you guys deserve one of those, And so yeah, we are going to continue working on our tongs. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to rivet them together. We've got our nice holes all taken care of, and they're nice and smooth, and they should open and close really well. We have our V grooves started in there, so I'm actually, liking the progress that we've made. So we are going to actually start by making a brand new rivet. We had made a rivet on Wednesday, but it was a little bit too long, and so it was started to bend when I tried to rivet the two together. So we're just going to start fresh and make a brand new rivet. Then we're going to rivet those together and then finesse them so that they function. Once that is finished, if it is still early if it's still early in the day, I'm going to spend a little bit of time making a new wedge for my 2-pound hammer. If it's too late, I will still probably make my 2-pound or my wedge. It shouldn't take too terribly long, so I will try and see if we can't get that done by the end of the day so I can start using it again. Oh no, internet drama? I hope there's no internet drama today. It would be, it would be sad. It would make me very, very sad. Because we've had so much internet drama and some drops, I've actually been having a lot of trouble making the shorts that I post up on YouTube. So I am like 2 shorts short of next week. So I've got a short for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but that's it. So I got to figure out what to do for the next 2 days after that. So hopefully we'll get some good ones in today and Monday. And so then I'll be able to finish out next week and then work on the week after. Let's see. What else is going on? I don't know. Lots of stuff, really, but also, not a lot. Oh, I sorted all of our long form videos, like the overviews and walkthroughs that we've been doing, or the edits that I've been doing. That now has its own playlist on YouTube, so they're easier to find, hopefully. And that will help you guys out a little bit. So everything should have its own playlist now. I just started the April stream or Raw stream playlist, so yeah, everything should be organized on that channel and it should be easy to find. Okay, now that we're not on ad time anymore, I'm going to start up the forge. But first, I'm gonna get rid of this little piece of steel that was our last rivet. So toss that into the scrap bucket. That's where it is. And we'll start our forge. Alrighty. Let's see. That was kind of loud. I'm sorry if that was too loud. Is it easier to form a rivet with square stock, or does it really matter? Really, it doesn't matter. A lot of people will start with round stock, but the reason I end up using square stock is because I just have it around the shop. It's not really, much different. You do have the extra stock, the extra step that anytime you are using round stock, you're going to want to kind of flatten out those sides so that you are maintaining equal sides and you're not twisting when you're doing your drawdown. But overall, you can use round or square stock to make rivets. You can also buy rivets, not like the pop rivet or the pop rivets that you would get at your hardware store with the rivet gun, but you can also buy actual rivets for like Rosie the Riveter rivets, I guess. You can buy those as well. But I mean, I'm a blacksmith, so why would I buy what I can make, right? Hey, Bluesy, welcome in. I'm glad you've joined us today. We are actually going to make our riveting stream here. We're going to finish the rivet on our new set of tongs. And now that I think about it, I forgot to update my stream title. So these are backwards. But that's all right because it's kind of the same thing. We're kind of doing the same thing as we were going to be doing on Wednesday when we were so rudely interrupted by the storm. I'm almost glad that we got interrupted when we did, because about 15 minutes later, I had the storm sirens going off, and there was a tornado watch. So I had to go down in my basement. So I had just enough time to bring in my equipment and make sure that all of it was turned off in case of power surges and stuff. And then I had to go down to the basement. So I'm kind of glad it interrupted when it did. I wish that it wouldn't have stormed on Wednesday, but if it was going to, then I suppose it works. Big yikes, tornadoes are no fun. Yeah, it turned out that the tornado was not in this immediate area, So there wasn't a lot of damage here, but there were several other areas that did get damaged. In the greater area, I guess. My partner, who was at work at the time, works at the news station, and they kept him an extra half an hour late because he was supposed to get off of work, and they kept him an extra half an hour because they were sheltering in the building. And I mean, they were broadcasting the news, so, or, the storm coverage. So, I mean, I guess it worked out sort of. They are a little bit, they practice what they preach. When they say go down to your basement, they do go into like their storm area in the building. So, it's a thing. Oh, there's my water. I was like, I know I filled water. What did I do with it? But yeah, today we are back, and overall it should be, the internet should be stable. Theoretically, knock on wood, that we are stable the entire time. But there really isn't anything that would immediately indicate to me that the internet will be unstable. So hopefully we're good to go on that front. So I'm going to stick these over here until we finish making our rivets. And we are still waiting for the forge to heat up. So let's see, what else is going on in the world of Ray's Smithy? Oh, I updated our outro with the new names of some of our subscribers. I know that I don't have all of you. So if you guys have subscribed and your name is not on that list, please let me know so I can acknowledge you guys. I really want to say thank you for all of your support with the subscriptions. And so I know for a fact that somebody subscribed yesterday, but it did not give me the name of that person. So I know that I'm missing at least one of you. So if I'm missing you, let me know. Or if that is you, let me know, and I will add your name to the list. Oh, thank you so much for your subscription, Mahalo. Let's see. I have 9 cups of coffee spread out over my farm, cold of course, but you know how it works. You are drinking a cup of coffee and then you start doing something. I am at the moment missing 9 cups, or 8 cups, so yeah. Like, I always forget where I leave my drinks, so there's constantly like soda or coffee or water or whatever I have to drink, like just laying around on counters and stuff. If I find them, I pour them out and wash them. That makes sense. I mean, that definitely makes sense. So yeah, thank you, Mahalo, for that subscription. Your name is on the list though, because I couldn't find, like, some of the people I know have fallen off and I have modified in that way, but I wasn't sure who had, because Twitch doesn't give me actual names of subscribers. I just have to catch them in my stream logs, and if I'm not actively streaming, it doesn't show them. So I'm doing my best, but I have been missing a couple. So yeah, thank you all for your support. I appreciate every one of you. At whatever level, I also appreciate all of my followers. I love you guys. And you guys are supporting me too. So thank you so much. Can you not see it in the mod logs? I mean, maybe I could. I might be able to. I haven't actually checked the mod logs in a while. Let me see if I can't see. Where are they on the mod logs? Let's see. Manage goals, rating, clip that, edit stream info, sub only chat, manage prediction. Okay, so I will have to look at that later on. But yeah, I'll definitely take a look. And I think I actually have to be active on my channel to look at the mod logs, or on, I believe, stream, or my stream thingy. Also, like the thing that the bot, I think that also has some mod logs on there. So I will take a look to see if I can't find everybody's names in there. Because yeah, I'd like to add your names to the end screen. So yes. Let's see, what else is going on? So we talked about doing subscriber badges, and it's completely slipped my mind. So I thought about that again today when I was editing the end screen. So I really need to do that. I need to like write that down as something that I need to do. And let's see, do I have anything to write it down with? Not at the moment. Maybe if I write it in the Discord. Because, I mean, it doesn't have to be like, I can do a few months and I don't have to do every month all at once. So I will try and do a few. Let's see. Remind. All right. I have made myself a reminder in the Discord. Remember to make sub badges, because that should also make it easier for me to keep track of all of you. I'll send you the link and then an image to show you how to download the subscription list. Ooh, thank you. Thank you, Ping. I looked all over the creator dashboard, but I couldn't find it. But I also don't spend like 6 years looking at everything. I'm always very like cursory, and I need to actually spend the time to check that. I actually spent a little bit of time the other day looking at OBS to try and figure out like where all of the different settings are and stuff. And I mean, the only reason I ended up doing that is because the sound got all screwy, and so did my layers. So, you know, I need to actually do it, but I spend so much time on other things. I'm starting to get a little bit more extra time because I'm getting faster at editing. So hopefully I have plenty of time to be able to do that too. Let's see here. So I think my parents have been are starting to watch the stream. I got a text from my dad today asking me for the link to the stream and the YouTube. So I sent that off. And so I don't know, maybe they're watching, and if they are, hello. Yeah, they don't show that in the dashboard. Must be downloaded. Oh, okay. Well, I will keep that in mind. So yeah, thank you. If you can send me that link, it would be greatly appreciated. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, we've got a little bit of heat. I think we can do a first heat. But before I do that, I'm gonna start recording on my cameras real fast. Ooh, jump rope again. Always with the jump roping. All right. Theoretically, everything should be good to go. All right. I hope that didn't screw up anything. Let's see. Ha! It actually looks decent for once. The first time. All right, so we are going to start by making a rivet. I'm going to start really, really small because the last rivet that we made was really too long. So if I start small, I can always increase the length. So we are hammering on all four sides and kind of reducing the diameter of this piece of steel so that we can match it up to the hole that we already have created in our tong side. So if we compare the two, we've got quite a ways to go. And our length is a little bit on the short side as well. So that's all right for a first heat. You can always cut the rivet, and I definitely can. And since I'm going to be cutting it off the bar, I can always cut the end of the length as well. And that's what I should have done on Wednesday. I should have cut it. I knew that it was too long, and I didn't do it. So, you know, it started bending, and that's my problem. I have this issue where I always misjudge the length of my rivets. And I mean, I know that intellectually it's 3/4 of an inch outside, or like 3/4 of the diameter of the hole, as far as like how much has to like stick out. But judging that by eye can be a little bit on the difficult side for me. Awesome. Well, if it's not internet, I guess it's spilling water. It'll be all right though. We'll be okay. So yeah. Like I said, I'm having a little bit of issue, or I was having a little bit of issue trying to come up with good short content for our YouTube channel. And I started talking about a topic that I thought would make a really good short, but I didn't actually finish the what I should have said about it. So the topic that I was going to talk about was hammer and anvil weights versus your steel or your stock, right? So when you are using different sizes of steel, you kind of have to actually judge the weight that you need for both your hammer and your anvil. The bigger your piece of steel, the bigger the anvil that you're going to need to use, and the bigger the hammer you're going to need to use, right? So we use a lot of 5/8 inch and half or like a 1/4 inch square stock here. So my 127-pound anvil and my 2-pound hammer are sufficient. But if I were to want to use something large like this, I would want to use or go up to my 3-pound hammer in order to move that material. Because the 2-pound hammer just doesn't have enough kinetic energy behind it. No matter how hard I hit it, it's just not going to be efficient. So I go up to the 3-pound hammer as I go up in stock size. Now, anvil size is very similarly. If I were to try and use this piece of steel here for on this anvil, the anvil would start jumping up and down, and that is also a loss of kinetic energy, and that would, or it's less efficient. So if I were to want to use that piece of steel, I would want to increase the size of my anvil to maybe a 200-pound anvil. That's a pretty good size anvil for large sections of steel. And also for using a striker team. So a striker team is where you have a group of one or more people with sledgehammers, and you have a blacksmith who is kind of keeping pace, and it is more of a manual power hammer situation. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. So hopefully I can get a decent short out of that content. Oh, wow. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. Like the bigger the piece of steel that you have, the bigger your anvil needs to be. If you have a small anvil like this, you can also like tie it down to the ground. Like if you just don't have a choice but to use a small anvil, you can tie it down. However, the large amounts of force that you need to move a piece of large stock like that gives a much higher chance of cracking your anvil. So it's something that you want to be aware of. So if you are doing large stock like that, using a larger anvil or an anvil that is specifically designed for striking is going to be your best bet. Wait, that's a small? Yeah, this guy is 127 pounds, and it is a small anvil. A lot of other blacksmiths that I have worked with or worked in their shop, their anvils are 200 to 300 pounds. So yeah, I have 227-pound anvils, and these are kind of like, I don't know if I would say they were beginner anvils per se. Maybe travel anvils? I'm not entirely sure how I would categorize them, if that makes sense. But yeah, this is a small anvil. Mind blown. Yeah, so about twice this size. About 200 pounds, or like a little under twice this size is an average size for a old style like 1800s and prior to that shop. So yeah. But I mean, it's cheaper to buy the smaller ones, right? Okay, let's do another heat. Oh, so the anvil I have is a tiny one. The anvil on the vise, that is. Yes, that is definitely a tiny vise, or a tiny anvil. Swiss Forge, good day all. How's the riveting going? We are just starting a brand new rivet. I decided that because the rivet that we had made on Wednesday was too long, I was just gonna start fresh. It's just easier that way. So we're gonna start a brand new a brand new rivet, and yeah. But it is a big vise. I imagine it's a big vise. Okay. So we are continuing to draw down this rivet a little bit. We're gonna hammer on all four sides. I got a lovely mouthful of scale. That's always my favorite. Okay, so now we are going to compare the two again. And it looks like we're about on the end, the correct diameter, except for the corners. So if we start rounding out that end, we can get the desired diameter of the rivet. So we'll just need to bring that the width back towards the tongs here. So we'll make that longer. So yeah, there are a lot of really big vices out there, both bench vices and post vices. This right here is a 4-inch wide, or like it's called a 4-inch post vice, and what that means is that if you open it all the way up, it's 4 inches wide, right? A lot of people, they really covet 6-inch wide post vices. So those open 6 inches wide. That way you can get really big pieces of steel in there and work on them in the post vise. But those are really, really expensive. You can usually find a good 4-inch post vise for between $50 and $75 on Craigslist. But if you're looking at a 6-inch vise, you're looking at about $200, sometimes more than that, for a 6-inch post vise. But I mean, I have seen some really, really big bench vices too. So I always thought the denomination was in reference to how broad the jaws were. The more you know. Well, yeah, they are, and I mean it is because but the jaws open in about a square, right? So about the width here is about how far these will open before the screw disengages completely. So that's like the maximum jaw opening, and yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, it does. So that's what my instructors always told me. And I do believe them because I actually was able to use a 6-inch vise when I went to Memphis. They have like the most amazing shop. They've got a couple of they have like, are they A-Yangs? They're huge power hammers. They've got 2 of them, and then they've got like several 6-inch post vices and 200-pound anvils. They're like a beautiful shop out there. I have welded a stop on my vise. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because if you do open them too far, they'll fall out of the screw. So, and that's not something that you want to happen. Does the vise have replaceable jaws? Kind of, I guess. So basically, every piece of the vise can come apart. And that's why a lot of times when you'll find a vise on Craigslist, they'll tell you that they're missing the spring. And the spring is like a piece of spring steel that kind of lives about here. And that's what springs the jaws open on the vise. So you can buy those for a relatively cheap price, and you can make yourself a spring steel spring for them. And so basically you have to take each part off and put that spring in and then reassemble it. And I imagine that if you did undo all of that you could replace the jaws if you needed to. But I mean, kind of. I've got a couple giant post vices on a pallet waiting for me to install them in the new workshop. I think one of them must be 8 inches wide. Wow. It is doable to put back in, but yeah, it kind of is a little difficult sometimes. Hey, for a blacksmith, all vices have replaceable jaws. Exactly, they do. I got a cheap benchtop vise. The jaw pads are held in with 2 screws each. Oh, okay. So I don't have when you buy like a Harbor Freight or a box store vise, they do have replaceable jaws that you can screw in. These, most of the old school ones do not have that. You kind of have to reface them occasionally or completely replace them. However, if I am trying to do something that's more delicate and I don't want to mar the surface, I have these guys, right? So these are rubber and they affix to the post vise with magnets on the back. And these ones have like little round sections of all different shapes and sizes. If I was not working with hot stuff, if I was doing cold work, I could use these. And so oftentimes I'll use these, or sometimes I will use like copper, like sheet copper, if I'm doing something a little bit more hot. But I mean, these work very well if you're doing semi-precious metals or cold work. Post vices don't have those kind of jaws in general. They're just made out of one piece of steel. Yeah, Swiss is right. That's exactly how they work. But like I said, you can reface these. You just open them up and use an angle grinder. Make sure that you reface them really flat and straight, so it can be a little bit difficult. It's not something that I would recommend unless it is like the interior of the jaw is just so gnarly you can't function with it. Same with an anvil. I would recommend not refacing an anvil unless it is unusable completely. Because the more of that tool steel face that you take off, the less of it there is, like for the old ones that have that tool face top. And then also, I've heard that you can put a new tool steel top on a old anvil, but it's very easy to kind of lose the springiness by doing it. So instead of just welding it directly onto the base of the anvil, you want to heat the entire anvil up to a similar temperature to your weld, the temperature of your weld, before you apply your new steel plate. And then you have to retemper the whole anvil. Yeah, I wouldn't want to change unless I gouged it out real bad with a grinder or something. Yeah, and I mean, I do occasionally nick the top of my vice jaws. So, you know, it happens, but overall it doesn't happen too badly. Another thing that I know, or that I've seen happen, is if you buy a cheaper, like Harbor Freight little anvil, sometimes they aren't as hard as like a real, a real anvil. And or if you're using a piece of like mild steel as an anvil, sometimes if you miss your piece of steel while you're hammering, you can actually kind of hammer like a little divot into your anvil, and you can actually fix that by chasing that material back down into your anvil. So what you do is you run your fingers over top of the area that has been gouged. Make sure it's cold so you don't burn yourself when you're doing this. But if you run your fingers over, you can kind of feel like a bump up and before it dips down, right? And when you feel that bump up, if you take your a good forging hammer and you start hammering on the bump, you can actually hammer that material back into your hole in the divot. So as long as you don't grind it off, you can repair a lot of dings and nicks in your surfaces. So that's something that you can, think about doing as well. It's dark today. It is dark today. Welcome in, Mound of Meat. I apologize for that. And the reason it is so dark today is because it's actually raining outside. It's not storming or anything, so we should be stable for the most part. But it's just dark outside, and my lights are kind of dim. So hopefully this weekend I will be able to finish rearranging my shop, and we'll get some like cinema lights in here. We have some extra ones that are just laying in a box in the basement. So my partner says we can set them up in here. So it should be nice and bright, hopefully by next week. Is that not how you would cast iron? Heat it up about the same temperature to the piece you are welding it to. Yeah, it is. That's definitely how you would cast it, or do cast iron, or like welding on cast iron. It's the same process. And the reason that we use that same process is because the old school anvils, They're using, what is it? I always forget the term for it. It's like the fibrous iron. What is it called? Not cast iron. It's, gosh, I can't remember. I'm sorry. Wrought iron. It is wrought iron. Artificially. Hello, welcome in. We are making a set of bolt tongs. So we have both of our blanks that are right here. Over the past several streams, we have made these blanks out of 5/8 inch stock. So we used our press over here. And so now we're just going to, we're making a rivet so that we can rivet these two together and then finesse them so that they're functional. And they are going to replace these tongs, which are incredibly wobbly and hard to work with. Wrought iron, yes. So yeah, the bases of the old school anvils are wrought iron, and so it's the same process when you're trying to weld onto wrought iron than it is to weld onto, you know, your, like any other iron, I guess. So yeah. I know all about wobbly tongs. Remember short rivet? Yes, I need to make a short rivet because last time I made it, it was too long and it bent, and that sucked. So yeah, we're making a fresh rivet, and I'm about to do another heat on that rivet. We're going to round it out and then see if we can't make it a little bit longer because I think it's a little on the short side right now. But we'll kind of judge. All right, so we're gonna round this out by hammering on the corners. We want to create 8 faces instead of the 4 that we started with on this piece of square stock. And then from 8, we turn it into no faces by hammering out all of the corners. And my wobbly tongs have struck again. All right. Okay, so let us see about, okay, so we've got a little, or it's the end of it is really nice. It's already going through the first half, but there's not nearly enough here at the end so that we could go through both sides. So what we're going to do is we're going to heat it up and thin out the back end, and then we'll test it again. Madman 0210, welcome in. We are building a new set of tongs. We have spent the last several streams working on building the blanks. So right now what we're doing is making a rivet so that we can rivet these two together, finesse them, and make them functional. So that's what we're doing today. Boo, aren't you scared using bare hands? Oh, bro, aren't you scared using bare hands? With what? These guys right here are actually dead cold. They haven't been heated in the forge yet. Only the rivet has been heated. So I can touch these with like straight hands or bare hands, but I can't, or obviously I wouldn't want to touch anything that's been in the forge. Well, I have welded cast iron by using cold welding techniques, hammering a softer metal into the V you had grinded across the crack. I know it's not really a blacksmithing technique, but it works. Oh, and brazing the crack as well. And I mean, that can work as well. But and it works for anything that it just needs to be functional. But the amount of pressure and like the amount of pounding that the anvil is going to take is going to crack that out unless you do a proper weld. And if it does crack it out, it will actually make it worse. And so you got to be really careful about re-welding pieces of tool steel to the top of anvils. Like I said, if you screw it up, it can make it worse. And then it would be, you would lose all of that time and that effort. The boss and the offset look good. Thanks. I try. Can I share a link to a clip from my stream? I've got a topical funny clip about forging with bare hands. Yeah, sure. You can. If the auto mod pings you, we'll let it through. So yeah, it should be fine. Okay, cool. That's right. Yeah, we do have an auto mod that like occasionally will ping people for stupidness. Okay, it looks all right. Yeah, without a doubt. But you have to understand on a steam boiler, all you need is to keep it closed and not too leaky. Yeah, and it definitely is a lot better to just braze that on because it's quicker and it's going to be strong enough for something like that, for that sort of application. Like I said, really the only reason that you have to be so careful and so technical about repairing an anvil is because it is designed to take that beating from the hammers, right? So overall, it's like I'm a big proponent for as long as it functions for its intended purpose, your fix is fine. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be functional. And that's why I still have yet to fix the jaws on my press. It's sort of functional. Yeah, strong enough if it's not going to take a beating. Exactly. I will have to take a look at your clip in a few. Once I get done with my stream, I'll try and take a look at that. Okay, I'm going to take another heat real fast. But first, I'm going to look at my clips to make sure that I am continuing to actually get a recording. Maybe. There it goes for that one. And then let's try this guy. Okay, cool. We are good to go. Let's see. The sides of the little square bar burnt themselves into my hands as little lines that took weeks to heal. Yeah, post a link in Discord because I may not be able to find it in the scroll. It's pretty early in the stream. So yeah, if you could post that to Discord, I would be greatly appreciative. But yeah, I have burnt so many weird like so many weird brands into my hands from picking up black iron that I thought was cool and it's not. So the most dangerous thing in a blacksmith shop is black steel, because you never know if it's cold or hot because it'll still burn you at the black temperature if it is hot, or it can. So the best way to navigate a shop is if you don't know if a piece of steel is hot or cold, bring the back of your hand just above the piece of steel, and if it's radiating heat, don't touch it. But if it isn't, then go ahead and grab it. I'll join the Discord then. Don't think I already have. Well, welcome to the Discord. You do not want to know how many weird burns I have. Yeah, I mean, you know, showing off those scars and everything. Best way to navigate a shop. Anything is hot. Exactly. All right, let's do another heat. It is better to be safe than sorry. All right, so we are going to focus on the back end of this rivet. If I can hold it in these tongs. Okay, yeah, so we're focusing on the back end of this rivet because we know that the front end is the size that we want. So we're kind of taking out lumps and bumps in any area that's a little bit thicker. All right, so now we are going to compare the two again. All right, so that's a really nice length right there and a good width. So if I take this guy and I stick it on like so. All right, look at that. That should work pretty nicely. I should, in theory, be able to rivet those two together pretty nicely. So I am going to pull these off and head over to the post vise, and we're going to cut this guy off. Did I do the thing? I pressed the wrong button again. You have a rivet plate somewhere, or will you just be using the step on the anvil when you join them? Normally I would just, or I have in the past just used the step. What I tend to do is I tend to use the back end of the rivet where I haven't completed doing the rivet. I use that as the first head of the rivet. So a lot of my tongs have a square side and a round side, but I actually do have a swage block right now. So I'm going to try using that as a swage plate. So I'm going to take this like so. And then I'm going to move my water. And going to grab my I'm going to say whatever this thing is, but it is a dust mask. Anytime I use a grinder or a cutter on steel, I use a dust mask because I have really bad lungs and I just want that extra precaution. All right, let's see if I can do this. And now we have our rivet. So we're going to put this in the forge. And I'm going to grab my swage block. And apparently I'm going to drop all my other shit. Okay. So, and I literally am going to drop all my stuff. Okay, so right here I have a pretty decent head of a rivet like shape. And so I'm going to use this section right here on this guy to create the head of that rivet. Sorry, I was struggling a bit with Discord because I haven't logged in the desktop for a while. I put the clip in general chat. All right, thank you. I look forward to taking a look at it. So yeah, I have a little section right here that I'm going to use for the head of the rivet. Hopefully it'll function decently as a header. Let me, where did I put it? I guess this will work. I like to set up my anvil and my space as I'm going, so that when I pull out the material, I don't have to like wonder where anything is. It's always already there and in place. So we'll put these guys like within a decent reaching distance. And so I've got my hammer here that we're going to use, and my swage block is here, and I've got my tongs. So I think we're ready to go once it gets all nice and hot. It's still a little on the cooler side, so we're going to wait a little bit longer for that before we start riveting it. Swage block, 85 tools in one. It definitely is about 85 tools in one. So, I mean, you know, this side, it's got a whole bunch of like bowl forms and like round edges, and even a, this guy right here, which is a tablespoon mold. And on the other side, it has a really deep round, and it also has an oblong shape that I can use. And then on the sides, it's got all these V grooves and round sections. So if I wanted to round out, or if I needed a half round die for something, I could use this guy. It is such a great find. I didn't pay that much for it too. I was pretty excited when I found it. This guy is 50 pounds. It does really depend on the swage block, to be honest. This guy is one of the small ones, but like I said, I didn't pay a lot for it, and yeah. I think I paid, what did I pay? I think I paid like maybe 50 for it, which is really a good deal for a swage block. There's my water. Oh, a 50-pounder light. Yes, it is very light. A lot of swage blocks that you'll find are, you know, like 100 to 200 pounds, depending on, you know, what they're used for. There's a lot of swage blocks that do have the divots in them, but then there's also the ones that are just like a bunch of holes. And those are like for drifts and swages and those sort of things, for like hardy tools and stuff. There's a couple guys that have been on, so I'm in a group called Blacksmith for Beginners tailgate sale on Facebook. And there's a couple guys there that actually occasionally they will commission swage blocks from a iron like foundry. And so when they decide that they want to make some swage blocks, you can pay your money and they'll put you in on the order, and you can get like, they'll buy like a large number of them to make it a little bit easier for the foundry. So that's a really good place to look. I know I would be able, or I would not be able to move them. I'm barely 102 pounds. You pay extra for the missing material. Yeah. I'm actually about 125 pounds myself, so I'm actually relatively small. And it is very difficult for me to balance when I am picking something up that's around or greater than my weight. So I understand that completely. My former boss, where I did my apprenticeship, had a really big one that came with its own massive cast iron table. I could swivel it around one axis, which allowed you to turn it very quickly despite its weight. Yeah, there are some really great stands for them. I made this stand and it's really poorly put together. It's one, or like, I've never been amazing at fabrication when it comes to making something specifically fit. I tend, when I'm making my furniture, I tend to make my legs first and then make my wood fit the legs. But because this already existed, I find it hard to like create something that fits correctly. So it really only fits in one direction. Smart. I am not a blacksmith. I mean, I can make rivets and such. Yeah. Making rivets is a little on the easier side, but I mean, there are still a lot of techniques that you need to make a rivet that is very similar to things for, or like the same techniques that you would use to make other objects. So, you know, drawing down and isolating material and offsets and, you know, all of that stuff. It's the same principles when you're making other projects. That is the beauty of blacksmithing. I'm going to close this in just a hair bit more to keep a little bit more flame going in there. It's taken a little bit for the rivet to heat back up. I'm a farmer. It is what it is. I do whatever I need, and I mean that's fair. You know, do what you got to do so you can continue working on the farm, and you learn what you've got to. And I feel like my grandpa was really like that. He was a semi-truck driver as his day job, and then he was, or like he owned a farm. So anytime like the tractor broke down, he'd fix it, and anytime he had to fix any, you know, the fences and stuff like that, he'd learn all kinds of different stuff that he needed to make the farm function. Meh. The name of this trade isn't protected. You can't even learn it under this name here. The official name is fabricator with a focus on forge work. Interesting. Yeah, there isn't a job like that here. But then there aren't very many blacksmiths in the United States that aren't like hobbyists or, you know, like they learned it later. It's not really something that you can learn in school typically in the United States. On one hand, that is a shame, but on the other hand, nobody is stopping anybody from calling themselves a blacksmith if they do any kind of forging, so it's a good thing. Yeah, and I mean, there's always going to be, you know, professionals and hobbyists in a lot of different fields. Blacksmithing is no exception, so, you know. Looks like we're about to start an ad. So I'm probably going to wait until the ad is over before I do any more heats before we actually apply this. So I'm going to actually flip my clips just because I can, because it's easier to pull them down into my computer when I do. Because YouTube's. I feel that a lot of blacksmiths keep to themselves, too busy making tools and stuff. Yeah, I mean, some people do tend to keep to themselves. There are a lot of people, though, if you find them, they're willing to share all kinds of knowledge. Anything that they have, they're always willing to share. At least most of the people that I've talked to. And I've actually talked to a decent number of European blacksmiths as well that were also very eager to teach me whatever knowledge that they had. So it's around. You can learn. All the farmers I know are great all-rounders. They use a broad spectrum of trades. I think it's very impressive. So don't sell yourself short. And I mean, there's also the fact that, like, without farmers, we would be nowhere. We wouldn't have any food to eat. Everybody relies on farmers. You know, farming is so important. We do what we need to. Yeah. I kind of feel like everybody ends up that way, at least a little bit. Everybody needs to, or does what they need to do. You know, whether that is learning a new trade or, you know, working a second job. Everybody is always always working towards, you know, what they need to do to survive. So yes, I very much appreciate all of our farmers because I like eating, and we would not be able to eat without our farmers. Man, my rivet is not wanting to heat up. Yeah, in my experience, the Smiths nowadays are very well connected and willing to share knowledge and even business. Yeah, like I myself am very willing to teach new Smiths, or, you know, send people who are asking for commissions that either I don't have time for or I just can't pull off to other Smiths. You know, their other Smiths' success is not my detriment. I'm not competing with anyone. If anything, you know, making sure that all of the blacksmiths that I know are successful helps me succeed as well. And there aren't a lot of industries that are like that, but blacksmithing is one of them. I really feel like. Use acetylene, you'll burn right through the rivet. Yes, definitely. I would burn right through the rivet. And there are, like, I am planning on doing a little bit of oxyacetylene heating for a project that I have coming up in mind. But I have to get my oxygen tank refilled. I have a really little oxygen tank. I need to get a bigger one, but I was never able to find one that was cheap enough. You may not even need the rivet hot. That's true. I'm going to pull this out and we'll see what we can do. Ah, too far open. Okay. Let's see. Can you guys see? Maybe, maybe not. I'm going to do my best to make it so that you guys can see. Make sure that we can open and close them as we're going. And we'll hammer down those heads. I'm going to do another heat on these guys just to make sure that that head grows big enough. This side's fine. I need to grow this side some more. Or upset that side some more. Oh dear, we see. Luckily, at this point, that's not enough blacksmiths to easily or satisfy the potential market, especially in restoration of historical buildings. This takes out some of the competition mindset. Yeah, and it really does. So it's a lot better and easier to work together, I feel like, a lot of times. And there really aren't that many blacksmiths that can take on large amounts of work. So, it's easy to get to know people and share resources. All right, so now that I'm reheating that, it is no longer going to be safe for me to grab a hold of it with my hands. So I need to figure out what I did with my gloves. There is there is a glove, but is that the right hand? The left hand. The correct hand is the left hand. Where did I put them? Ah, there they are. I found them. Urgh, jump ropes. I've got spaghetti on all of my cabling for my cameras and my laptop. All right, so I've got these lovely welding gloves, and we're going to use these and tongs, another set of tongs, to pick up our steel if it gets too hot. It's definitely going to be too hot the where it is, but it might be a little bit. It might even be too hot for the welding gloves. So we'll see. We'll take a look. Do you also find yourself having only right-handed gloves in good condition? Yes, because I am right-handed, and so every time I use the glove, it's the left-handed glove that I am using. So I always burn the interior of the hand and like the tips of the fingers because my hands are teeny. And, the ends of the gloves, they stick up so far that I always end up grinding off the tips or burning the tips. And then they scrunch up and I can't put them on anymore. Welding gloves will not always work. Yes, they definitely won't always work, especially in this particular use case, because the ends of these tongs are going to get really, really hot because they are so close to that forge. So I'm going to try using them, but there is a chance that it will not work because they might be too hot. And if that's the case, then I will use my set of tongs and we'll use that. And then I will grab another set of tongs when we quench it off so that I can open and close it as I'm quenching it. As a farmer, I have a huge box of left-handed gloves, weirdly. I've been looking for a left-handed smith with a similar size hands to trade surplus gloves with, but it's not easy. Yeah, I don't have a buddy that wears or that is left-handed that blacksmiths. Like my mom is left-handed, but she doesn't weld or blacksmith, so I can't really trade gloves with her. But if I bring her in to help me smith, sometimes she'll have plenty of gloves to use. We should talk. Well, I do not have welding gloves. You don't have welding gloves. Well, I mean, if you don't need them, you don't need them. I have a tendency to not wear a right-handed glove when I'm welding overall. And because I hold the gun with my right hand and I hold the piece with my left. So the welding glove is always on my left hand, but sometimes I don't use the glove on my right, which I really should, but I don't. So I do have a lot of right-handed gloves that hang out in my shop. I guess plastic garden gloves are not a smart choice. Not really overall. But I mean, you use what what you have for the function that you're going to use them for, Some plastic gardening gloves, or plastic gardening gloves are great for gardening. I mean, that's what they're designed for, but not for welding. I weld mostly with leather work gloves. They're not garden gloves. Yeah. No, they are not. Yeah, so I had a friend. He's no longer with us, but one of my friends used to weld with just leather gloves. They were like the close work gloves, and he used to weld with those. There wasn't a lot of protection, but he liked having the dexterity of being able to use his fingers with more close-fitting gloves. So he would weld with those and forego the big old welding gloves. And sometimes I like that idea. I like it I like it a lot, but I don't do a lot of welding anymore. Most of the stuff that I do is like a little spot weld here or there. I'm not doing a lot of fabrication lately. Oh, sure, I use leatherwork gloves a lot too. Proper welding gloves I only buy specifically for TIG welding, but they are much thinner and more expensive. I rarely ever wear gloves when welding. Like I said, I will use a welding glove on my left hand if I'm holding the two pieces of material together or like onto the table. But if I have something clamped down or I don't need to use this hand, I won't use a glove on it either. My partner is not happy when I do that though. He's very safety, and I mean, so I do use a lot of safety, but sometimes it gets annoying. I have seen a guy weld wearing leather driving gloves. See, I wouldn't do that because I'd be afraid of ruining them. I used to have a good set of leather driving gloves. But like I said, I was always afraid that I would ruin them if I used them for welding. But then I use them for fencing, so I kind of feel like there's not much difference there. If the tip of the fencing rapier comes off, then I'm still going to ruin my driving gloves. You did set him on fire. I did set him on fire. And, so he likes it when I'm a little bit safer than that. It was all he had at the time. I mean, that makes sense. You use what you got. Okay. We're going to try this. We're going to go one more time through this and see what we got. If we can make them work. All right. Are these going to function? Am I going to be able to hold this? It looks like yes, I should be able to hold this. All right, are you in the hole? Yes, you are. Okay, I've got a nice head on that end. We're gonna go to this end. Alrighty. Whoops. That'll work though. It'll function. That's all I need is for it to function. Doesn't gotta be pretty. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to quench this off so that we can make sure that these guys go open and close in the quench bucket. All right, so we're opening and we're closing. Open, close. So now we have some lovely tongs that open and close, but the jaws of the tongs are way far apart. So the next thing that we're going to do is stick these back in the forge, and we're going to start finessing the jaws of these tongs so that they do connect or touch. Alrighty. Oh, and I'm already on that camera. I've seen a guy grind with a plastic bag over his head instead of a safety goggles. That's kind of stupidly out there. That is really kind of stupid. Especially because, I mean, a plastic bag is just going to melt, so you're not really preventing yourself. You're not really preventing yourself from getting stuff in your eye, especially if it's hot. So all of those sparks, it's going to come directly into your eye. I did also, like, when the pandemic hit, there were so many people that they were using like plastic bags and all kinds of crazy stuff as masks, because they recommended you use a N95 mask, but they were all sold out in the United States. So a lot of people were using all kinds of crazy makeshift things for an N95 mask. And I saw some people with plastic bags over their heads, and I'm like, that's interesting. The cloth masks ended up working a lot better, but I mean, N95 and like the surgical masks are definitely best. All right. I don't know what I did to my shoulder when I was opening and closing those tongs. It was weird. There's just like a weird twinge in my shoulder. I will have to pay close attention and make sure that I don't accidentally, make it worse. Okay. So back to, black metal, you never know if it's hot. This guy right here is not hot. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to use this piece of steel to finesse our tongs. This is a 1/4 inch stock. So we're going to kind of use this to close the jaws around so that we can kind of make sure that they'll function and hold a piece of steel. And then once we've got them functional for that, then we'll close them a little bit further. But right now, we just want to make sure that they function together. Right. All the things. How long have we been streaming? About an hour and a half. We're making good time. I might actually have time to create a new wedge for my 2-pound hammer. So this is my 2-pound hammer. It's the one that I normally use all the time. And while I was rearranging my shop, the wedge came out at the top. And so you can kind of see right there where there's a hole in the wood where the wedge used to be. So I don't know, it must have fallen out when I was putting the hammers away, and so now I need to make a new wedge. So if we can manage to get those finessed together and functional, we're gonna make a wedge for this hammer so I can use it again. All right, good luck with the finessing. I'm gonna head off to bed. Today was a long day. Thanks for the stream. Thanks for joining us, Swishforge. I hope you had fun. I had a lot of fun. And we'll see you later. Have a good weekend. All righty. Let's see. So it looks like our jaws are on the hot side, so I think we should be able to start finessing them together. So yeah. You too. Thanks. Bye. All right, so we're going to do a little bit more of this. Start finessing. Pull these out of here. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to kind of try and make sure that these guys are kind of straight and on line with one another, it'll make it a little bit easier for us to get them together. So then we're going to come over here to the horn and round them out a little bit further. So we're going to start there. And so now we've got a nice round going. Let's open these up just a hair. So now what we want to do is kind of bend the jaws apart so that we can actually get them to hang on to one another. So that's going to be our next heat. We seem to be doing all right with the opening and the closing of these guys. So I think we'll be all right. So we can open and close them pretty well. And back in the fire. So cool. Hot, but I would say hot. Yeah, they are pretty hot right now. They're pretty hot right now. So yeah, we have a set of functional tongs. Well, at least they're functional as in they open and close. So what we're trying to do now is finesse them so that they are a little bit more functional so that they can actually hold a piece of steel. So that is our next job, making sure that they can actually hold things. And I'm going to flip this clip so I can make sure that I have all of it. Because this is the important part of the end of making tongs. All right, so I talked about making rivets, and I riveted the tongs together, and okay, I'm supposed to talk about upsetting. So the process of making that rivet head is called upsetting. So that is when you hammer on the end of a hot piece of material to widen it out. So you take that extra length and you compress it down, and that is called upsetting. Just a point of safety, of course, if you get something cold enough, it will act as if it is very hot as well, kind of. You will end up with blisters as well. Yeah, that does happen. So like, a good example of that is out in space, right? So heat is created by molecules and atoms like moving around an area, and so, or like the molecules and the atoms, they get excited, and that's what heats them, right? Well, in space, there's not enough molecules that are close together to create heat. So what ends up happening is it's so cold in outer space that things like instantaneously freeze, and it's very cold out in space. So you know you can get burns from outer space. Right. So I'm going to flip these guys upside down in the forge so that, because one side is hotter than the other, and I want them to move evenly. There we go. Cuts. Space. All right. So yeah, we're getting really close to being done with these tongs. I'm really excited because then I will have a brand new set of universal tongs, and I won't have to use these guys anymore. I'll be able to retire them. There just isn't enough of a rivet over on this side to tighten them any further. So I could drill them out, or I could just make a new set, and making a new set seemed like a better idea. Not quite instantaneously. There have been documented cases of astronauts being briefly exposed to outer space and living. Yeah, there's theories as to why that happens. And like, they say something, or like if you exhale, there's like been rumors about making sure you exhale before, you know, and then there's also like if your blood boils, and so there's a lot of like speculation as to how that happens. You can repair them. I can repair them, but I used it. It was a good excuse to make a new set. So I did. Like I said, I could just drill them out. Um, but they're kind of ugly and old, and I just wanted to make a new set. Exhaling helps against the bends, which is one of the dangers. Yeah. That is what I had heard, at least, as far as being out in space. Um, but I'm not like way into astrophysics, so I could be wrong. Just hang them on the wall. Yep. They've been a great workhorse for me, and I feel like they deserve a good retirement. So they'll have a place of honor, probably actually on my tong rack, um, with a lot of other tongs that I don't use. But yeah, I am a stupid farmer. Well, just because you only know a little bit about a lot of stuff doesn't make you stupid. It just makes you know a lot about a little bit of stuff, or a little bit about a lot of stuff. I think that made sense. Jack of all trades. All right. So we have a good amount of heat on both sides of those of the tongs. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to take those out, and we are going to hammer them up against the edge of the anvil. We're going to put this guy inside of them so that we keep them relatively evenly spaced, and that's how we're going to go. I have a whole room filled with clamps, and I do not have enough clamps. You will end up with that and tongs. I will end up with that and tongs. I already have so many tongs. All right, let's grab these guys here. See if I can't open these and close them on this here. Okay. So we're trying to hammer these guys together, both sides. Hammer this back because this side was longer than the other side. We want to make sure that they are evenly spaced, and if we look down the set of tongs, we can see if they are straight, and they look relatively straight, although we do have a slight veer this direction. So I'm gonna try and correct that next. Looks like this side is a little bit longer than that side, so we're gonna have a little bit extra round over here. So we can look about correcting some of that a little bit. This guy can come back out a little. But yeah, it's all about finessing and making them look pretty now. Oh, the ads started in the middle of that. I'm sorry, guys. Hopefully you guys didn't miss too much of that. Let's see. So yeah, they are pretty finessed. We are going to do a little bit of extra work on them just to make sure that they are functional, or that they look a little prettier, I guess. I want them to look nice and pretty. Ouch. So, let's see. What else can we talk about? Like I said, we're probably going to make a new wedge for my 2-pound hammer next. I would like to actually use this set of tongs, and we'll see if we can't make use of them while we are making the new wedge. So that'll be my next job for today, at least. And then we'll start a new project on Monday. The project that I want to start is making a sign. So I want to make a Raise Smithy sign to go on our project wall over here. So I want to fabricate the raise part of it, R-A-E-S, and I want to make that a piece of sheet steel with the negative letters. So it'll just be a cutout of my name, and then so I want to put LED lights around that so that we can change colors and stuff. So the smithy part, I want to make each letter a different blacksmithing technique. So the S, I'm looking at doing a nice scroll with like a penny scroll. So there's like that little round area on the end, and then it's got that S shape and a penny on the other side. And then the M, I want to do an upset corner. So that is where you bend a right angle, and then you start hammering down so that you get the thickness of that corner. You don't lose any of that thickness. You get a nice blunt corner at that end. So I want to do that for the middle section of the M, and then we'll bend the other legs around. And then I haven't decided yet what I want to do for the I, but the T, I want to do a Frederick's cross for the T. So each of the letters I want to do a different technique, and we'll make a sign that says Raise Smithy for the wall. So that'll be our next project, or at least that's the next project that I have planned. I'm not entirely sure how long I think that's going to take me. I'd like it to take me 6 streams, but I don't know. Some of the letters that I have in mind, I think are going to take me a little bit longer than other letters. So we'll kind of play that one by ear. And then for the project after that one, we're going to take a break from blacksmithing momentarily, and we're going to do a little bit of fabrication. And ordinarily, I'd be all over, let's just continue blacksmithing. We really want to stay on topic. But this time, we're going to be fabricating a brand new, or new-ish, a fabricated coal forge. So I have a little rivet forge. It's about yay big around, but I want to make something a little bit bigger that functions a little bit better. And because I made the rivet forge and it's a little bit wobbly, so I want to make it a lot more solid and actually design it a little bit better and more functional for us. So we are going to be fabricating a new coal forge that we are going to use this summer outside when it gets nice. And I'm hoping to do a little bit of forge welding with it. We'll see what we can do with that. So those are our next 2 projects that I have in mind. And then from there, we'll play it by ear. We'll come up with some good stuff to do. So hopefully you guys are down to watch that and, you know, talk and ask questions. But yeah, I need a new coal forge and a sign for the backdrop. Okay. So we've got plenty of heat on these tongs, so we're going to do that real fast. Or we're going to keep on working. Finessing these guys, making sure that they're functional. We can use them and stuff. Make them pretty. This one is far longer than the other. Alrighty, let's see if we can pick this guy up real fast. It's a little bit on the wobbly side. So our next heat is going to be making sure that we've got those corners all nice and in there smooth so that things don't wobble around. So that'll be our next heat. I don't know how many parts are involved in a coal forge. Sounds like a big project. So basically what's going on with the coal forge is so basically we're going to make a sheet of, we're just going to cut a sheet of 1/8 inch thick sheet steel. And we are going to create a frame for it. So it's going to have angle iron legs and some bracing. So that's going to be the majority of the fabrication that we're doing. And we're also going to have to create a forge or a fire pot, right? So we already have our fire pot. And it's right here. So this right here is a brake rotor, right? So these make pretty decent fire pots. They're not the best fire pots because they are a little on the deep side, but they are adequate for what our purposes is. So we're going to use this guy, and we're going to weld some black iron pipe to the bottom so that we can add a blower. And yeah, won't they crack? They will eventually crack, right? Because they aren't like iron. But the way I'm planning on making it is that they'll be replaceable. So it's not. I'm not going to weld it directly onto the frame, like the sheet of steel. I'm just going to create a hole, and so that it'll just drop down in that hole, and we'll weld the black iron pipe onto the bottom. So then, once the brake rotor cracks, I have another brake rotor that we can drop into the hole, and then we will get new black iron pipe. Yeah. So eventually, you will have to, replace the fire pot and the clinker breaker eventually, because the extra heat will eventually, start melting it. So it doesn't really matter exactly what you make it out of. You will eventually have to replace it because the amount of heat that you get up to, it will eventually start melting it, even if you're using just raw or like iron, cast iron. Yeah, and you can get brake rotors that are worn down for cheap. You really can. So that's why I kind of want to make the piece out of brake or with brake rotors in mind, because I mean those two that I just showed, or those two that I have, the one that I just showed you, that one I got from my partner's car for free. I mean, I guess it wasn't free because we had to replace the brakes, but. They were just gonna throw it away, so I took it. Yep, cheap. So I figure by fabricating a new coal forge, that kind of gives us a little bit of a break, and it will also kind of give us an idea of how to go about doing that if we want to make one of our own. So I'm hoping it works out for us. There's a little bit of water on my anvil. I don't know what I did with my garbage. I had a garbage in here at one point, and I think it's gone now. So I think it's right there actually. There's a pile of like dirt in a can and a bunch of pieces of wood. So I guess that's my garbage for the moment. Okay. Let's see. We need to make sure that those right angles are the correct size for stock. So, like I said, we are going to stick this guy inside the jaws of the tongs, and we're going to hammer directly on them so that we can make sure that they function and will hold a piece of steel. Did you just say you use a wooden garbage bin? I don't. I have a I used to have a 5-gallon plastic bucket as my garbage, but I think that my garbage can ended up in the big garbage bin, and I think that it actually ended up in the dump. So I need to grab another cat litter bin and make a new garbage can. Alrighty. Let's do another heat. I keep forgetting to put my welding glove on before I take the material out, or like the tongs out. Okay, so I have the material. It's going in there just like so. I want to try and make it a good angle. Will it hold in there decently? It's not wanting to. Well, now it is. It looks pretty good there now. So I think it'll be all right. So overall, I think those are okay. This side's a little bit on the longer side, and so they are a little bit wonky. Maybe we'll try and fix that a little now, but overall, I think that I'm happy with them. So that's them. And these are our functional tongs, now that I dropped them. So we are going to quench them off so that we can use them. There's not enough water in my quench bucket. There we go. So that is them. There are our tongs. They're relatively straight if you look right down them. Still a little on the hot side. In the middle. Alrighty, there we go. Should be fine, just like so. Alrighty. Good to go. Nice set of tongs. Alright, what happened? Something screwy happened. Success. Whoops. Relatively straight, partially by. I'm not going to go there right now. We're not going to go there right now. So yeah, so the tongs, they're relatively functional. I'm pretty happy with that. Black iron. All right. No burns, just warm. So let's see if we can't use these. So they're a little bit on the wobbly side, it looks like, for something this big. But that's all right because we have a specific set of tongs for 1/4-inch stock, which is these guys. These are specifically designed for something that's smaller than 1/4-inch stock. So yeah. Now to throw that inside there so we can make sure that I can, or so that I can make my wedge for my 2-pound hammer. So this guy I'm going to put over here so we can make sure, or so that we can compare the two. Well, I do not mind. Hot. Iron is hot. Yes, all iron is hot. So yeah. Yeah. All right. It's got a nice V groove in there. I'm actually pretty happy with that. So these should work very well for anything smaller than 1/4-inch. So they aren't quite as round as I want them to be, but overall they're very functional. They aren't wobbly. They're nice and straight and magnetic. But yeah, they should work pretty well. Yes. I'm very happy. So like I said, for our next project for the day, the 2-pound hammer, the wedge is missing. So I need to make a new wedge so that I can secure this head on here. Because right now, it's very wobbly. I've kind of tightened it in as much as possible by using the weight of the head to kind of secure it in there. But as I hammer, the head could fly off because it's not secure at the top here. So I want to replace that wedge. So we're going to make a new one for my hammer. I have no idea why OBS keeps minimizing on me. But overall, I think I'm all right. It's not like I'm losing it or anything. It's just, for whatever reason, OBS is minimizing on me. Weird. So yeah. This one's a little bit wonky, but overall I think it's all right. You can kind of see right here where I have that square head on the rivet that I was talking about. This side is round, but this side is square. And that's because when I made this rivet, I cut it off where it was still square so I could guarantee that I had a nice head on one end. And then I only had to worry about this end to make a head on. So that's kind of how I do things a little bit. I don't know why I do it that way, I just do. It's easier for me, I guess. Trying to keep the water off of the face of my anvil so it doesn't start surface rusting. Okay. So our piece of material is relatively hot now. So what we're going to start with is just thinning out the top of that and kind of keeping that same width, but thinning out the length or the height of it. So because we've got a very shallow square right there, so I'm going to try and make that profile. So this is going to be a very off-the-cuff, as-you-go kind of project. And I'm going to turn off the record function because I don't really need to record this. Okay, so that's good. That one's not recording anymore. This one is also not recording anymore, but we're good. Hopefully they recorded before, though. If not, I guess I'll have to try it again. Oh, shoot, I forgot to do the thing that I was trying to do. So we're trying to make kind of a wedge shape, but while keeping the same width, that 1/4 inch width, we like that. So we're trying to make a wedge shape for the end of that hammer. So we've got a decent start there. I want to thin that out a little bit further, because if I compare the two, this guy's still a little bit on the wide side in both directions. Nice. So yeah, a new wedge for my hammer, so I can start using it again. That is the goal for the rest of the stream. And so we've got about a half an hour to do this. Could be a little bit longer. I want to finish it and make sure that it actually functions. So if it does not, or we might go a little bit late, I just want to make sure that I get this thing done. So we're also going to bring that taper back a little bit closer, or like longer, and make it longer. I'm not entirely sure how long the previous wedge was, so I'm going to make it good and long, so that it reaches the solid wood. Yeah. All I have to say about that is that's what she said. The second I heard I'm going to make this good and long, That's where my brain went. I'm sorry, guys. Or maybe I'm not sorry. All right. We've got plenty of heat, so we're going to keep on moving. Okay. So I'm going to go from the other side this time. Kind of move that wedge so that it is centered. Kind of more like a screwdriver, maybe. I'm figuring that shape will help out a little bit so that both sides of the wood move evenly. So this is what I got so far. We need to move a little bit, or we need to thin the point out a little bit further, especially on this side. Oh, you have a dirty mind. I like that. Sometimes I just can't help myself. I try to make sure that I am relatively clean on stream, so no matter who comes to watch, they're not, they're not offended. But sometimes it slips out. I do check the box that my stream and my videos are not for children, because there are so many rules and regulations about what you can and can't show and what you can and can't say when you are making content specifically for children. So I always check the box that no, I'm not making this for children. But I do still want to make the stream and the YouTube relatively family friendly if I can manage it. Oh, we know. But yes. Oh, I just got a text message. I hope it is. Yeah, it's a text message. What is it? It's probably not important. I don't know why I'm checking it. I'm sorry. Who is texting me? Oh. It was a text from my dad saying I'm doing a good job. So thank you if you're still watching. It looks like I got an ad coming up. So once the ad is done, I will do another heat on this hammer wedge. So yeah, I don't know that my dad has a Twitch profile, so I don't know if he can actually talk in chat. Because I know specifically that you have to have a Twitch account in order to type in my chat. So yeah. So I agree, Ray's dad. She does a good job. Well, thank you. I try. I don't know. I love teaching people stuff, and I love talking to people. It's one of my favorite things to do. Before when I was I loved being in retail, and I know that sounds so weird because most people hate retail, but I used to work in retail and I loved it. And I didn't love the job necessarily, but I loved being a people-facing person. So a lot of times I would do, like, I was a cashier or a customer service rep, and it was my favorite thing to do. I love talking to people and attempting to make their day just a little bit more pleasant. And so I kind of have brought that here, and I hope I make your days pleasanter. I mean, obviously I can't fix everything, but I mean, I hope that you guys have fun watching and that you guys, maybe it's like an escape for like a temporary escape from bad things. All right, so I think the ads should be done in about 20 seconds. So I will do another heat once those are done. But I always, or like the timer, it always gives me like the minute 30 timer. And I know that you guys have variable amounts of ads. But yeah, I try to make sure that I'm not doing this stuff. Yeah, I guess your nickname should be Motormouth Ray. You are a blacksmith. If you take your time, you can fix everything. Yep. Great stream and have continued to learn lots. Well, I'm glad you're learning. I do kind of have a motor mouth, but I watch videos about how to succeed on YouTube and Twitch, and everybody says keep talking. Even if you have no audience, keep talking. So that's what I do. I talk to myself if I've got no comments to respond to. But it's fun. I've kind of, given my camera like I guess, I look at my camera and I see another person, maybe? And then you guys respond on the computer. It works out. Okay, now that the ads are done, we're going to do another heat. And we're going to bring this taper back. Like I said, I want to make sure that this guy is long enough that it goes all the way into the solid wood. But I also want to make sure that the wood doesn't crack too badly when I put this in here. Because if it does, then I will have to make another hammer handle. And then you guys will get to make fun of me because I am horrible at making or at woodworking because I'm not Yankee. I don't know. If not for the fact that I can't do without my hammer that long, I would consider sending it off to Yankee to fix it for me. All right, so we've got a pretty decent wedge. Of course. So now we're going to compare the two. All right. Overall, I think it's about the right width. And it looks like it'll go in there pretty well. So if I do this, yeah. It's too hot to do now because it won't, I don't know. Will it sit in there right? I don't know. Something. I'll probably cut it off about there, but I want to bring the taper back a little bit further first. It's close. Ooh, that's an idea. It should sit in there right. It's been a long time since you've not had an audience. It has been a really long time since I've not had an audience. You guys have been great, and you keep coming back, so I must be doing something right. I was looking at my analytics the other day, and I was looking at where all of the viewers were coming from. And you guys make up about half of my viewers. You know, you guys, my followers, and the people that just keep coming back and coming back. And the other half of my followers actually comes from the browse page. And that really surprised me because I guess I didn't realize that so many people, or that I must have been high enough on the browse page within the category that people see the stream, come in and watch for a while. So that was very encouraging to see. A bit hot. I have hammered red hot wedges into hammers. Will they actually work better? Like if it's red hot, will it sit in there better and tighter? Because I know that like a lot of people will drive red hot tangs into either their antler or their wooden like scales for knives and stuff. Does that work better, or will it be loose? Because the last thing I want is for it to be loose in there. You are a young woman who smiths, so yeah, I mean, there is that. And I feel like that's more of a positive than a detriment. But I do notice that there are a lot of people who just like, they'll go through some of my videos and just dislike them. So for the most part, I think that's actually a very big plus in my favor. I am 5% on the browse viewers. Yeah, so like it looks like when I look, I get about 7% of my viewers from like my followers and people who already watch me, and then I get another like, or I guess not 7%, it was 7 viewers, and then I get another 7 viewers from the browse page. So I guess 50-50-ish. I have no real idea. I know they hold. Well, that's good. I really want this stupid wedge to hold so that I can use my hammer again. But yeah, I think it'll be all right. And if I have to go and buy a new handle, I guess I have to. So we'll see how it works. And if it doesn't work, then I guess I'll just buy a handle. They do have replacement handles at the local hardware store that I can use if I have to. All right, let's do another heat. Like I said, I want to move the back a little bit further. David Rojo followed me 33 minutes ago. Thank you so much for that follow. I hope you're still here and can hear that that I'm grateful for you. Okay, I think that's a good wedge length. Let's see. All right. So I think the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm probably going to cut this about here, and then we'll drive it into the hammer. So I hope this works right. So we're going to put this in here, and fingers crossed it'll function correctly. Or maybe not. That's my own fault. That's definitely my own fault for being stupid about putting this in here. Okay. Now it's nice and secure in here. Let's see. Hi, I have seen people drive hot metal into wood, but I do not understand why. Metal expands when hot and shrinks when it cools down, right? So if it fits when it's hot, shouldn't it become loose when it's cooled down, seemingly hot? Oh, wow. That is a lot of gifted subs. Wow, Frisbee 1337, or maybe that's Frisbee Leet. Thank you so much for the gifted subs. That is amazing. Thank you so much. Wow. That is the first time that people have gifted that many subs here. We've had people come and gift 1 sub, but thank you so much for that. You're welcome. Thank you so much. That is awesome. Okay, so back to this. I'm gonna cut off the wedge here. Oh wait, I was answering a question, wasn't I? And Frisbee Leet, thank you so much for the follow as well. Thank you for that. Okay, I was looking at a comment and it was about, what was it about? It was about, oh, when it loose when it cools down, seemingly not. See, I'm not sure. Like, I've heard it both ways, right? A lot of people, when they're making tangs for knives, they'll put the tang into the wood hot, and it kind of. But then they also glue them in, so that might be the case. And I think what I want to do is to actually drive this wedge in while it's cold, because I do want it to be nice and tight in there. So I think what we're going to do. Ping, thank you for the bits. All right, let's see. Oh, we've got a level 2 hype train. And that's my first hype train. I've never had a hype train before. Thank you so much. Okay, awesome. Okay, so right now I'm going to cut this off with the angle grinder, and then I think I'm going to quench it in the quench bucket so that I can make sure that it's nice and tight when we drive it in. Hopefully that functions correctly. We'll have to kind of dry that off too, because I don't want it to be wet when we drive it in, because that'll increase the wood, or like the size of wood expands when it gets wet. So I won't be able to drive the wedge in far enough if I drive it in while it's still wet from the quench bucket. Good idea, right? You too. Okay, things and stuff. All right, I'm gonna move this water so I don't end up with dust in it. Sorry, I've totally been like, wow. Wow, thank you guys so much for the gifted subs. Thank you so much, Bluesy and Mahalo. Thank you. Wow, that's crazy. I am also getting a stutter, but it seems to be the camera. That's weird. Audio is fine. Yeah, I'm not getting any dropped frames. I wonder what's going on. Let me look at the camera real fast. I'm sorry, guys. The camera seems to be doing all right overall. That's really weird. Okay. I think it's all right. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, are we refreshing? Okay. Yeah, it does look like my camera is being stupid. If I transition like so, maybe that will help. I don't know. It is stuttery. I see that. Yeah, I don't know why it's stuttery like that. That's so weird. I'm really sorry about that, guys. Thank you so much for continuing that hype train. That's crazy. I'm so thankful for you guys. I'm not sure why it's all stuttery. So weird. Yeah, I don't know. That's not my internet either. It probably is an OBS issue. Because I don't think it's the camera either. Yeah, it's an OBS issue. It's trying to transition now. It is an OB. Okay. I think it's No, it's not. It's not okay yet. Maybe it's okay now? I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, it's really stuttery. I'm not entirely sure why. Let's see. Restart OBS. I can do that. Let's see. I will be right back. Man, it's the whole computer. I don't know. I don't know. Are we all right now? It looks like we're all right now. Okay, cool. All right, I think we're done stuttering, so I think what we're going to do is we are going to cut this off real fast, and we're going to put that wedge in here. Okay. Oh, wait. I need my face mask real fast. Wow. Yeah, I think it's good. Excellent. All right, good. I'm glad. I don't know what happened, but I feel like the computer itself started lagging, and I'm not entirely sure why. It was weird. Okay, so we're going to cut this wedge off about here, and then we are going to quench it off in the quench bucket and hammer it in. So let's try this. All right, so there's that. Put that there. And use my brand new tongs. Choo choo. Yeah, I think Windows decided to do some things. Or maybe like when I was like looking at the hype train, maybe what happened is that I accidentally clicked something that I didn't mean to click. That happens too. Thank you so much for that hype train, guys. Wow, that's incredible. Thank you guys so much. That is my first hype train. You guys are incredible. Thank you. Okay. So now we have a wedge, and there's a little bit of a little tag here. So I'm going to go over to the, wait, no, I'm not because it's not plugged in. All right, we're going to do something really dangerous. Don't do this. Yeah, don't do that. That's really dangerous. But yeah, sorry. Okay, so now we have our wedge. It's right here in the hammer. We're going to take our other hammer, and we're going to do this. We're going to gently hammer that in there. And it's like not doing anything. Okay, so if that's the case, then it looks like, oh wow, this guy is like, okay. So I think what's actually happening is that it's not thin enough at the end. So we are getting, it's dulling out, or it's too dull to go inside. So I think that's what's happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy right here. And this is a much safer way of doing this. And except for that, I really need to use my mask, but I'm not going to. All right. So theoretically, I have just sharpened that up a bit. So it should now go in there. Fingers crossed and all that. Let's see if I can get this in here now. All right, now it's getting in there pretty deep. Okay. We've got it in there. All nice and tight. We've got a little bit of a stick up there. Breaking my rules. Yes, I'm breaking my own rules. That's so bad. I need to not do that. Okay. So now we have a nice wedge in there. It's good and tight. And so we should be able to just cut that right off. But I think I might actually leave it there for a little bit, just so that if it moves around a bit, I can hammer it back in there just a little bit further. We'll wait just a little bit, a couple streams, and then we'll cut it off. You know, hitting the handle works better. Like this. It kind of does. I like how you are obviously a safety third person. I am definitely a safety third person. It does work a little bit better to hit the hammer, or like if I do this, this is probably better. Oh wow, it's raining really, really heavy outside now. Yeah, so like this. Yes, like dropping everything. But yes, like this. This works a lot better. All right. But yeah, overall, it's nice and in there, and the head is nice and tight. I should theoretically be able to use this hammer again. So yeah, it's got a little bit of extra there. Maybe I will cut it off. I don't want to accidentally scratch myself with it. So I think I'll cut this off, and then once I've cut this off, we'll probably end the stream. We're getting a lot of rain coming in outside, and you can hear it in the furnace. You can even just hammer the end of the hammer whilst holding it in your fist. Like this. I think that's what you're talking about, right? Because I think I've seen that too. Like I said, I'm not really good at handling hammers. I'm really, really bad at it. But yeah, I think I'm going to cut this off. And then we'll probably end the stream for the day. If there's, yes, okay, excellent. If there's anybody that you guys would like to raid to, we can definitely do that. But I don't really have anything else that I was planning on doing today. I thought this would last a little bit longer. But yeah, we're at the 2.5 hour mark, so unless I started another project, but I'm not really ready to start another project. So is there anybody streaming that you guys would like to raid to? If not, I will find somebody. Let's see. I'd say get Cream Delish, but he isn't streaming yet. Is he a cook? That sounds really like a chef. A chef stream would be really cool. All right, so I'm gonna cut this end off. So like I said, because I don't want to end up slicing my hand or anything on it. Play in the mud? Okay, we can raid Play in the Mud. What do you guys think? Play in the Mud. They're really nice. I like them. All right. All right, so I'm going to do things the right way this time. No, not a cook. He is a colleague of Chef Steve in their More Than Pasta food truck. Ooh. Still food. Yum. I could eat. Whoops. I'm trying to untighten it and not, or loosen it and not tighten it. So there we have it. We've got a nice wedge in our hammer now. And it's not wobbly anymore. Yay! So I am looking forward to being able to use this hammer. They do mostly work for charity. Ooh, that's a good cause. Yay! All right. Thank you guys so much for the hype train and for all of the follows and subscriptions today. It's been amazing. Thank you guys so much. Kind of like MSD. Okay, cool. So we are going to raid off to Play in the Mud now, and I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday. Have a lovely rest of your weekend, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And here is my outro that I'm gonna have to change again. Thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend. All right. All righty. Thank you guys. Laters. nice trade today.